Good afternoon, class. So today is 22nd of February, and we will have to cover the current affairs of today. So first news is related to I think straight away we will shift to articles. Okay, navigating the storm and the 50th Finance Commission, which have adapted well to the shifting sands. Now, why this is in news? Why Finance Commission have been designated as a part that it have worked according to the shifting sands? Why this particular designation? Because if you remember, first of all, for the first year when the Finance Commission was supposed to present the report, there was an administrative major overhaul in the Indian states and the union territories, in which Jammu Kashmir state has been made into union territory. Never had that happened in the Indian history. For the very first time it had happened, and for this they have to change the report for the next 4 years. Then the COVID came, and what is the provisions that they have done? Then the Chinese threat came. So these are some of the issues that the Finance Commission had to look for, and also give recommendation over the years for the things that are going to occur or will have or would have occurred. Now let us talk about the path of consolidation. We already know the Finance Commission have given a recommendation of 41% for the shares of taxes and revenues of the central government. The fiscal deficit grant has been adjusted by the Finance Commission at 2.95 lakh crore, which is meant for 5 years. The center have also provided for conditional transfer for the local bodies and the urban bodies, in which there are two conditions that are precursor for any type of transfer. The first one is the setup of the Finance Commission, and second one is the public account online needed to be uploaded. 60% of the grant is related to water and sanitation, and that is how the things will occur. The another that came directly from China on the borders near Ladakh and in Sikkim. So for this, 1.53 lakh crore has been allocated because long had been demand of the non-lapsable fund by the army, because the imminent threat was always there in the form of China. India has always hoped that there may be possibility in the near future that it will have to fight a two-front war or even a two-and-a-half-front war with the terrorist organizations, also that are currently blooming across the border. So these are two things that are needed to be considerate about. And they have also provided that 51,000 crore is the maximum amount of the budgetary allocation every year from the central government fund that must go into the non-lapsable fund that was set up for the defense and the internal security. Out of that 50,000 crore of the total fund, 1.53 lakh crore will be of the Home Ministry, and the rest will be allocated for the Defense Ministry. When we talk about state losing out, there have been consideration with respect to the government charging or fulfilling its coffers by implementing the various amount of cesses and not allowing the equitable share. There have been also issues with respect to the GST compensation that was needed to be awarded to the states, that was also not awarded. And then there were constraints that were put. For example, the fiscal deficit, whether it will increase or not, whatever the states should provide, and what is the fiscal space and the consolidation that is currently available for the states to have. So these were all the issues that were discussed. I hope this is clear. The next one is the time and preservance. So this is related to the the possibility of life on the Mars. This particular Mars rover has been sent, and NASA have sent it. It have landed on the Ziguro crater, and Perseverance rover is sent the first signal from over there. It took approximately 11 minutes for the radio signal to reach Earth, and it has also been found that there is evidence of the ancient life. When we talk about the one Mars here, it is equivalent to 689 Earth days. The Curiosity rover basically will take up the clay minerals. It will also look at the ancient delta. It will collect the geology and take samples of the rocks and other parts. There will also be technologies that will be find the suitability of the adaptability of humans that may be happening on the Mars in the upcoming years. We are also looking for the possibilities. We have sent some kind of green microbes over there, which if they will survive or not survive will tell us about the things that whether they will happen or not. Okay. So if there are other things that are needed to be considerate about, one of the things that you have to be understood is the possibility of life on the Mars. The next one is the voice vote as a constitutional subterfuge. Now, why this has cropped up again? Although this art issue is not important, but the things that this person have written, they are more important. Now, what is the issue here? The issue is that the second house of the parliament, that is the Rajya Sabha at the center, and the second house in the legislative assemblies, that is the legislative council in the states, wherever it is present, have often been criticized of withholding the government decisions, not reflecting clearly the mandate of the people, and therefore not being able to basically prevent the monopoly of the government. Now there are two issues at question here. There were certain bills that has been passed by the Lok Sabha, that is the popular house. Now the idea of the Rajya Sabha perpetuated from this particular part, that if only the people who in the Lok Sabha will be made in charge of the country, and the scrutiny from the another house is not provided, then there are high chances that the house or the lower house will become despotic, and they will take decision without any consideration to the states, or may damage the unity and integrity of the country. So it was felt by our forefathers that there is a need of another house, and this particular house will work for the benefit of the people, and in totality have a check on the government by checks and balancing. But recently what has been happening, there are two ways that have been found by the Lok Sabha, although Lok Sabha is being a dominant house in both the houses, because it have got the power to the money bill, and the money bill is designated by the Speaker of the House. The Speaker of the House, if decides it is a money bill, it is not to be questioned in the Supreme Court. And right now we are seeing that the Supreme Court is not going into the judicial review with respect to the various laws, acts and amendments or ordinances even passed by the central or state government. So they take benches and the decisions are yet to come, but the initiate halt is provided by Rajya Sabha. So what the Lok Sabha is being doing, or what the chairpersons of the Rajya Sabha are being doing, they are basically not paying heed to the division vote which is needed to be provided. That is one of the check on the government in written or in totality, that by this margin or this was the objection with respect to the particular bill. Now that may not create a much of a difference, because maybe the central government will be able to pass the bill in the Rajya Sabha also by enough of the support, enough of the candidates that they had in their support. But the problematic thing is that they are only passed by the vice vote, in which majority and minority is being decided, and not the equivalent number of persons who have not voted and would have or would not likely to be voting. So that is the controversy here. The second issue with respect to the money bill. Speaker designate the money bill. Now it has been acquisition for Aadhaar bill, that it was a finance bill. Now there are different powers that are allocated to Rajya Sabha, both in the cases of finance bill and the money bill. In the case of money bill, it had to be passed back again to the Lok Sabha in 14 days. But in the case of financial bill, it can be passed by Rajya Sabha beyond 1 month of time. And when we talk about 1 month or 14 days time, we are talking about the days of the sitting of Rajya Sabha and not the days from the entering of the bill to Rajya Sabha. Please understand. So if it is a 30-day session, then the 30 days will be counted. So that's why these particular things are there, and the 60 days of the Rajya Sabha, this is how the finance bill should be given back to the Lok Sabha. Now, the unquestionably desirable and necessary things that the government is not following, and they are doing unnecessary things to create a type of a dubious or disregard to the constitution morality that is being set up in the constitution, that how the parliamentary democracy should function, is highly degrading, and it may create long-term impact on the democracy that our forefathers have envisioned for us. And therefore this all certainly need to be done away with. And there have been also question on the bicameralism, that whether we should only have one house, whether the current popularity, because as Rajya Sabha is not directly elected house, so therefore the credibility of the Rajya Sabha is also at question at multiple times, that they do not reflect the will of the people. So why they should be given a chances that what the government want to do, because after every election the government come in with its own agenda, and when they come up with this own agenda, they directly are voted for their agendas. But when we are in a type of a democracy that is India, which is I think more diverse religiously, linguistically, religion, and community wise. I think a certain check and balance in the form of Rajya Sabha is always desirable. This is what I feel. Otherwise, different people have different opinions, so we will not go into that. So I hope this is clear. The next one is the blank pages in the Indian online learning experience. Now, this is the same issues, the divide. There are only two crux on this particular article you should remember. When we talk about education, approximately 30 crore children in the world are out of school, have been out of school. Now, especially the girl child, they are more focused because they have suffered more. And when we talk about the experiences at home, the experience of the male child is that they have gotten more time to study and more time to prepare. But in the case of female child, they have been engaged more thoroughly into the household work. There are also poor return of the students right now after the pandemic is over, or not almost over, but after the lockdowns has been over. There are different things that are needed to be done. For example, the focus delivery, assessment frameworks, and the teacher-student engagement. India have various type of digital platforms that were running. Diksha platform, which provided e-learning, Eat Parshala application by NCRT, Swayam from class 1 to class 12, and Swayam Prabha was a DTH channel that was available. Now, there is a divide of spatial, digital, gender, and class that was there, and the closure of the schools basically provided a issue with respect to the quality and quantity, whether to retain the total number of students or whether to focus on the quality. So, of course, the quality for the retainment needed to be lowered further down, and so the state governments have also announced that there will be no backlogs that will be given in the class 10th or class 8, so that the student do not opt out from the schools in the fear of getting failed in those examinations. Apart from that, the closing of the school not only hampered the education, pedagogic, and the activities related to things, but they have also provided for all other facilities that were needed to be or has been provided by the school, such as midday meal, school health program, pre-matric scholarship, and many states in that particular part have lacked. This was the biggest complaint that the people have regarded, that teachers were basically getting all the salaries for no amount of work done in the school that is needed to be done. Right now, we should focus on three things: quality, equity, and gender. Look for devices, because poor do not have a direct internet connectivity, so the poor and backward are already on the suffering part of it. NGOs who have done better, they have being supportive of the poor and the backward areas. They have basically tried to bridge away the digital divide. They work in small spaces, and therefore these small spaces were able to reach out to the maximum persons who were already enrolled in them. ठीक है, तो इस बात को ध्यान रखिएगा. Now, in the end, again, the budget needed to be increased. The next one is the renewable energy post-pandemic. When we talk about the need and desirability of the post-pandemic, the one thing that we needed to know is the uninterrupted supply of the power is most critical for any type of crisis that is there. And in the hospital and the healthcare, the power was required in continuous form, and therefore the power sector did not fluctuate much even in the wake of the pandemic. The situation at the home have increased. Now, when we talk about energy, the cold chains and the logistics also require different form of energy to maintain the supply of goods from one place to another. Now, there is a report by United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific. This social commission have suggested that there is a possibility in the Southeast Asia that the fossil fuels reduction may happen over time, and there is a demand for the increase in or constant increase in the demand of the energy. When we talk about solar and hydro energy, we should also know that for the achievement of the sustainable development progress in the sustainable development goals, there are two things that are required. The first thing is the willingness on the leadership, if they want to shift from the fossil economy to the ecological and sustainable development economy. And second, the stimulus for the sustainable development goal is also needed to be taken care of. So these are some of the things that are needed to be understood, and they have said that the condition of, or the romance of, you can say, the energy opportunities and the inclusive recovery have paved the way for us at looking at the sustainable development goals in a way that we would be basically developing a sustainable future for the people who are at the poorest of the poor, create less footprint on the environment, work for the poor people, and it is also research evidence that in the solar energy aspects, the jobs created will be more as compared to the non-fossil aspects. So I hope this is clear. Okay, further moving on. The next news is disengagement at LSE raises hopes for GM-JW deal. So this is a deal with respect to the motor companies, and there have been 36 requests made by GM for the various type of products that were needed from Gatewall Motors. Gatewall Motors is of China, and Garrison Motors or Garrison Garage, something like that, GM Motors, is in India. Now there are land border disputes, and recently the the central government have issued notification against any of the prior investment that is needed to be maintained in the Indian companies, which are strategic and non-strategic, can only be done by the approval of the government. So if any form of FTA is coming from outside, it can only be done by the approval of the government in the cases of the countries who have shared land borders directly or indirectly with India. But basically this was directed at China, but then we have extended it to all the countries that are in the neighborhood. So I hope this is clear. Okay, further moving on, you can read the Nirmala Sitharaman interview if you want to have. Now, one statement that she have made is pretty important, but I think it is also needed to be considered. So for long ago, the Communist Party or the leftist agenda has been that the rich people are getting wealthier, therefore the poor people are suffering. But the Modi government is working that if the wealthier will do better, the poor people will also do better. So these are the two philosophies that are currently working, and this is where Nirmala Sitharaman have also focused upon. You should read the interview, but I think there is nothing substantial in that. You should talk about, if you have not read any of the budget, this is what she have explained only, and what are her opinion regarding the BPCL, what are her opinion regarding the disinvestment, what are her opinion regarding the privatization of the PSPs, public sector banks, the concerns with respect to the EPF and the last mile delivery of the regulatory compliance, and finally the taxes on the petrol. So if you want to see what is happening over there, so these are some of the things that should be read if you have not known anything. Otherwise there is nothing new in interview she has said. Okay, further moving on. Iran says talks with IAEA chief fruitful. Now this is Chief Rafael Grossi, who is the head of International Atomic Energy Agency. Now this particular head is basically was talking on continuation for allowing the agency to basically inspect all the things and the nuclear facilities in Iran. Iran have first of all said that if the sanctions are uplifted, they will abide by all the rules of the JCPO that was earlier mandated. You should remember 3 or 4 major criteria that has been set up under that particular part. And I think Iran and USA will sign the deal sooner or later. Iran have put up a brave face against the USA authorities, and USA is currently bulging. They are not talking from the position of power, and they are talking from the position of negotiation now. So you will see further changes in this particular relationship also. Okay, so Djokovic has also won, I think in Melbourne, the Australian Open. So you should remember Australian Opens happen in the month of February, and 2 persons who have won are Djokovic and Naomi Osaka. Okay, so I think that is it for today.